price of games is getting out of hand.
Yeah, we really need to talk about money, don't we? I mean, I don't know about you, but have you not noticed, like, games are really expensive these days? And, well, it might go against what you would have thought the companies would say. Actually, some sales are down of big titles. So today,
Really?
let's discuss the pricing of video games. Let me know with a comment down below. Are you buying less games at full price now that premium titles are $70? Well,
Yes. So I remember back in the day when video games were like, what was it, $40 and $50? Or was it 60? I don't remember. But it was like back in the day, like, what was it? PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and so on and so forth. I remember like reading in one of my like Game Informer magazines at the time where they were talking about the prices of games like going up and up, and it was like, oh my god, are we ever gonna see like $100 game? Because this was at a time where like games were going up from like $50 to $60, and then I didn't even know like games went up to like $70 more or less. I thought there was like still like 60 or whatever. That just goes to show you how many like new games I buy on like day one anymore, as like an older boomer gamer type person. Yeah, but like a lot of the times, especially like recently within the last like year or two, maybe three, probably more, it's like games on day one are absolutely horrible, and they've been getting worse and worse the longer like the gaming industry is just like going on. So it's like, and yeah, there's probably a couple outliers that, you know, deviate from it or whatever, but like for the most part, it's like a game will release and it's just complete dog shit, so you have to have that day one patch or whatever, or the game is like, come on into our early access game, and since it's early access, it's okay for it to be shit because it'll get better. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, I definitely have not found myself buying more and more games like as time goes on.
well, the statistics seem to say that your answer is going to be yes. Because, I mean, a few reasons. I mean, if you're Microsoft, they just don't have much for you to buy, do they? But also, even for Sony, people are not buying games at the same rate that they were. Many people say the common adage that, hey, these games are too expensive. Why are they so expensive? If they were less expensive, more people would buy them.
But games, like the price of a game hasn't really gone up in like the last, what, 10, 15-ish years. It went up from like 50 to 60 and has pretty much stayed at 60 for like a long ass time. You know what I mean? It's like if we're just now getting into like the $70 range or whatever, plus like whatever edition of the game you're getting, are you getting like standard edition, super edition, super duper edition, premium platinum edition, where it comes with a bunch of other shit that you still have in your like physical possession, and it's just you put it over in like a bookshelf or whatever, and it just collects dust, and it's like, and then your friend comes over and he's like, oh, you got that thing still? I'm like, yeah. Hey man, can I get this? I'm like, oh, what? And then I think to myself and I'm like, do I even need this thing anymore? And I'm like, yeah, sure, Darren, you can take my fucking like Fallout 3 lunchbox. I don't care about it anymore. Whatever.
And then you, Mr. Publisher, would make more money. Well, that's not what's happened with the market leader PlayStation. Less people bought games, the revenue has gone up. Let's dive in to some consumer data straight from Sony and a whole bunch of analysis to work out what the hell is going on, with the help of today's sponsor, nordvpn.com/Bellular News. It's where you'll get 2 years plus 4 months for free, all backed by the 30-day money-back guarantee at my link down below. Now, NordVPN's awesome. They give you freedom, they give you security, they let you browse the web as if you are anywhere. one example, streaming, obviously. So many streaming sites are regionally locked. Sometimes even stuff that I really want to look at for work is locked because it's in the US. Nord saves you there. But what I love, and I've only really recently found out about, is using Nord for like taking advantage of regional pricing. There's the example I've talked about before with Tom Scott, who he flew to France, wanted to hire a car, realized it would be a ripoff, so he VPN back to the UK, got away a better deal. You can do that with hotels, airline tickets, all that stuff. The amount of like, you know, region and user specific like pricing that is based on location out there is completely mad. And if you have a VPN, you're not going to be suckered in by it. It's just one of the many, many uses of a VPN. Of course, it'll keep you safe from many threats like the phishing, the man-in-the-middle attacks. You know, when you've got a fake Wi-Fi network trying to pwn you, you've got their dark web monitor, you just add your email to that, and if your credentials are leaked anywhere, like in a dark web leak, then ping, they tell you. You can change your password. This stuff's great. It's why I use Nord. The app and browser extension are super easy to use, so hit up nordvpn.com/BellierNews to get 2 years with 4 months free and their 30-day money-back guarantee. Okay, so we're thinking about this because number one, we've all noticed it, and number two, Derek Strickland at Tweaktown has actually deep dived into Sony's recent financials, and it's a really fantastic write-up. Software revenues are at an all-time high. Data provided by Sony Corp indicates that, PlayStation gamers spent however much money. Hardware has been pulling in record numbers, so is software, but overall game unit sales have actually went down quite a bit in fiscal year 2022. Dropping to a mere 264.2 million games sold. But that's actually a drop in units of 39 million from the previous year.
Okay, this seems like it's an easy tell. So, game developers are transitioning into this like weird live service game selling model thing. So, what does that mean? So, the game will be like free to play. It's going to be around for many years or whatever. It's got battle passes. It's got seasons. It's got skins. It's got limited time modes or whatever. It's got like mythic skins or legendary skins. It may or may not have loot boxes. All right. So with all of the, what am I trying to say? When like a game developer makes like a game, a live service game, they're putting a lot of like effort into a game. So they don't really care how many they do care how like many units are sold, but like what they really care about is the microtransactions. That is what is gonna like yield like the most profit or whatever. You know, gotta sell those skins or whatever. So less game units are being sold, but people are most likely, like based off of Sony or whatever, playing less different types of games. Like you can have like your base game that you like play randomly like with your boys, but then it's like, oh, like a single player game comes out. Okay, I spend like 50 to 100 hours playing it, and then you go back to like your base game that you're playing, like your competitive or whatever, a multiplayer game, you know, and then another game comes out, then you might get that one, but then you go back to like your multiplayer game for like in between, and it's like the less game units are being sold, but depending on like what game you're playing, like over and over again, is probably going to determine whether or not like how much you're going to spend on like that game is what I'm trying to say. So like you're going to be buying more microtransactions, and since you're just like a regular dude or whatever, since you're buying more microtransactions, you're going to have less money to just buy different types of games since you spend all your money on microtransactions. It seems like. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, damn. I mean, less COVID checks maybe, but it's still staggering. So yeah, software sales are down. Software revenue is up. And apparently software revenue doesn't actually include microtransactions.
Really?
Right? So, when you take this to its immediate logical endpoint, there are less games being sold slightly, but the games that are being sold are more expensive. So much so that it doesn't just make up for that lost revenue, it in fact exceeds it. Right?
Oh God.
That quite is something. And then,
Oh God, that's essentially narrowing your audience. All right, that is not a good thing when you narrow your audience. Oh boy, gotta get that $70 game, $70 base game. Oh dang, I wish I could have played that $70 game, but since it's too expensive, I'm just not gonna get it. I mean, granted, $70 is like it's not no money, but it's not a lot of money for like so like $70 is a lot of money if you're like in middle school or high school or whatever. I mean, at least to me it was. I mean, I don't know how it is now or whatever, but like, yeah, 70 like a game, buying a game back then, like for like $60, that was a lot of money, and I think it still is.
we can cross-reference with Activision. We've got some publicly available data from their reporting to just sort of see this. Activision has confirmed that Modern Warfare 2 generated $1 billion in game sales revenues in just 10 days. However, those massive earnings did not significantly budge PlayStation's total game unit sales during Modern Warfare 2's launch period. Yeah. In that quarter, Sony sold 86.5 million titles, of which 65.7 million were third-party games. This is a year-over-year reduction of 6.2 million total, game units, and a year-over-year drop of 15.7 third-party games. And that's in a COD quarter. So yeah, across both first and third-party games, those sales numbers are down, but revenue is up. And when you sort of as we would maybe take the temperature of the audience, you may not have expected that.
No.
That it has actually made up for it. So let's go and take a look into this. So Tweaktown also did a survey of their...
So you're essentially cashing in on the chunk of your audience that has more expendable income at the expense of a portion of your audience that may not have as much expendable income. So it's like, hey, if you got money, you're good. But if you don't got money, or you got too little money, you're not so good.
Our audience, right? And you know what? We will actually, we will mirror this in a community post. So we'll see how you guys stack up to Tweaktown. But anyway, how much are you willing to pay for a new AAA? $60 max, 68% of people. 70% of people $70 only in special cases, 23%. That's probably where I will fall. I will spend $70, but it's got to be, Ghost of Tsushima. It's got to be like a really good game.
It's like, for me, like, how much are you willing to pay for a new AAA game? But like what AAA game? This is like if you just take this in a vacuum, like this in a vacuum, it would be like 70 is fine. I don't care. But like, this is going to be highly dependent on like what developer is making this. Like, is this going to be another Cyberpunk? Is this going to be another Redfall? Like what else? There's a bunch of other games. Is this going to be another like Star Citizen or whatever? Then it's going to be a hell no. I ain't paying that shit. I'm not playing that game on day one. Cause what's the history of most AAA games? Like, at least recently, the game on day one is fucking busted. It's busted as shit. All right. And this whole like IU subscriptions, this is gonna be like dependent. So I don't know.
And then some other people falling at other ranges there. So overall, gamers say that they won't pay $70, except in
like this whole like subscribe thing. What is this? Like, is this like only World of Warcraft? Like, come on. Who is subscribing to play a game? Like, come on. Can you have a little more like self-worth, please?
23% of cases, somehow revenue's going up while sales are decreasing, and it probably means a couple of things. People are unhappy to buy $70 video games, but in a poll, they are unhappy to say that they will. And I think that for many people, this is the have your cake and eat it too thing, where it's like, right, I really want to play this game, but if I get surveyed, I'm going to say I don't want to, because if I say that I will, then they'll probably just make my game $75 or $80, and that's even more.
That's a whole nother factor to consider, If the overwhelming majority of people marked that little $60 and that's it, they could have, like, everybody could have just been like lying, because they, in their head, they're thinking exactly what he just said. Like, if they say they think that I'm fine with paying $70, they're just gonna jack up the price to $70 and be like, oh, there's magical value, like $10 more of value because you guys said it was all right, you know. So more statistical manipulation of the data.
By the way, compare pounds to USD, and often we have to pay $69.99. For us, that can equate to about $85 to $88.
What is a pound and a stack and a quid? What, Bell?
Happy. Then also, maybe there's enough people in the general audience, so, not just us capital G's, who buy 1 to 2 games a year, and they are happy to put down the extra $10 for their limited purchases. Because it is almost worth remembering that to quite a lot of people, the price doesn't matter because they're just going to buy the next Call of Duty, the next this, the next that.
I used to be that guy, but then 15 more Call of Duties came out, and they were all worse and worse and worse. And I'm just like, nah, bruh, I ain't doing that no more. I'm done. I'm calling it quits. I'm not gonna be like the gamers that buy the sports games year after year, knowing it's simply a mere copy paste version of the game. That's what it turns into with Call of Duty. It's just copy paste. It's no longer like, oh, there's 3 developers. There's Sledgehammer, there's Infinity Ward, and whatever the other one is, Ravensoft or whatever. I don't know. I'm out of fucking touch. It's like, no, it's the same game. It's the same game. It's an arcade shooter on controller.
So right now, this gamble of raising up prices that I think was really spearheaded by Sony, it is actually working. So let's talk about this from the publisher side, right, and what's actually going on. So sometimes people think the cost is reasonable. You have games like Tears of the Kingdom, that's been in development for a long time, Dead Space, which is very well received, Final Fantasy 16, I think especially for 16 and Tears of the Kingdom, people are almost like, they will happily throw over that extra $10 sight unseen. But sometimes they aren't. You've got The Last of Us Part 1 remaster in PS5, and then of course you've got Redfall, because I am willing to pay $70 for Ghost of Tsushima. I'm willing to pay, full price for a Star Wars Jedi Survivor that has a good frame rate. But for Redfall, there's really, Redfall is a AA-B. Ghost of Tsushima is a AAA. You have to really be up there in order to justify that.
Yeah.
And this is also an issue that has spurred on a lot of claims of increased development costs. And a lot of people have been skeptical about that. But actually, if you take a look at the CMA's ongoing analysis of Activision and the highly public data available from that, you can actually see development costs. So look at this. This is as picked up on by Kotaku from the CMA.
As a video game player and enjoyer of the casual status, this development cost, I don't care about the development cost. Just make the game good. That's all I care about. Just make the game good and I'll pay for the game. Now, if you don't make the game good, I'm probably not going to buy it. At least not immediately. All right? I'm going to wait a year or so until you patch that shit. Not just once, not just twice, maybe a couple times. And then I'll wait for it to go on sale. And then maybe I'll buy it, That's if it has shed its stigma of being a dog shit game on day one.
Diving into all the data that they have access to via that case. Some AAA franchises like COD have development budgets that already exceed $300 million, and the next GTA or other future tentpoles are expected to hit $250 million or higher. Now we need almost 1.5 lead studios for each annual COD. Right? Expensive. One publisher said...
What? Activision is also quoted in this report saying, with reference to COD, we have to make so much content for Call of Duty. What? That we can't even lean on one lead studio anymore. Now we need almost 1.5 studios for each annual COD. Really? for Call of Duty. Does Call of Duty even have like a dedicated single player still? Like, what is going on with Call of Duty? Like, I quit buying that game years ago. Like, it's just not interesting to me anymore. But like, I remember when it was like each studio has their turn every couple years or whatever, and it's like, okay, there's your gun. Okay, you made a single player, great. You made a multiplayer, great. All right, you got a couple maps for multiplayer. You know, they're most likely gonna be like in the single player somewhere. You know, but like, all of a sudden you need 1.5 studios. What are you doing?
Said it spends 164 million in pre-launch development costs and 55 million in marketing. Another one said a range from 80 million to 350 million, with marketing costs of up to 310 million for the biggest games. A third publisher reported costs between 110 and 350 million, and a fourth one said budgets ranged from 90 to 180 million, with marketing ranging from 50 to 150 million.
Bro, like these triple game budgets, these AAA gaming budgets, this is like, I would rather go see a movie. You know, how much does it cost to make a movie? Like a big name movie, like a Marvel or like a Disney thing or whatever. It would probably cost somewhere in this range, 80 to 350 million or whatever. But with a movie, you're only going to see that shit in the theater once. Like, what? Since when did video games just be about the same as movies?
And that its most expensive game cost $660 million to develop, with a marketing budget of $550 million.
600 million to make and 550 million to market. $1 billion game. What game is that, Bellular? What fucking game is that? I need you to drop a name and to say like how, like, what?
That's mad. That's so much money. But Call of Duty sold through 1 billion in 10 days. It's a big arms race, folks. That's what it is. So now games need to be bigger, more beautiful, more technically impressive. I mean, just look at Jedi Survivor. It is jaw-droppingly, stunningly good. Almost to the point where it hurts itself because of the performance impact of that. But that's just how hard they are trying to absolutely just blow your socks off with these games. So these budgets are massive, and then onto that budget throw a 50 to 90% on again for the sort of marketing that they do for AAAs. And if you want to know how a game can cost that much, it's because you have teams of hundreds of people working for like 5+ years. That's a lot of time and money. I mean, you may hear, now it's about 5 to 10 years to make a full-scale AAA video game in the blockbuster sense. Right, Redfall, that took 5 years.
Yeah, that was not a blockbuster.
5 years for Redfall. Arkham Knight released in 2015. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League releases in 2024. Now, there were cancelled projects and failed things in that period, but fundamentally, studio output, 2015, 2024. Rocksteady, almost for a decade, they were just, publicly just away, asleep, doing something else, right? That is mad for one project. That costs so much money.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, because of the ever-increasing, demand, that drive to get up the quarterly report, they're going to take that $70. And Sony knew that they could be the tip of that spear because more than so many others in this scene, they put that quality in. They put that blockbuster quality in, to the point where they can demand $70. But evidently, like the likes of a Redfall cannot justify that much money. And I suppose with numbers looking like this, it's no surprise that, like, when faced with a black hole of money, sometimes publishers may just say, we're going to put the game out, and that's just going to be that. Right? I mean, you might wonder, like, why did Redfall come out the way that it did? These Animax are just like, look, we can't put more into this. We have to put the game out now. That's that. It's like once that release date is announced, it starts this ticking time bomb. So many games are delayed, and it's like they clearly need to be delayed too. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I think that is how we've got to that stage where it's $70. PlayStation took the ground. Other people are trying to run in and hold that ground, but unlike PlayStation, they don't necessarily have the goods. And that's just... that's just the way that it's been. I think it's why $70 for Spider-Man 2, people will be very happy to play that. If it's, if it's as good as Spider-Man 1, and I certainly would expect it to be, yeah, I think that is totally worth $70 for the entertainment value. I'm sure Horizon Forbidden West would have been that for people. Elden Ring. Yeah. Elden Ring, $70. Great game. That's
easy.
Fair. I'd pay that price. Redfall?
No.
So many other of those.
Yeah, people have no problem, or they'll have less of a problem paying for, like, a higher price for a game as long as there is like some sort of promise that the game is, I don't know, isn't going to be like another Cyberpunk, another Redfall, or whatever. Like, there has to be something that I can just say about the game where it's like, okay, I got no problem doing that, you know?
Triple A's that just don't quite come together. Yeah. But anyway, the way that it's working out is that people are overall spending more per game, and they're buying less games. And actually, a lot of the time that can be, I don't want to say a good thing, but some of the wisdom is to highball, get your most excited people in first, right, where you get as much money per unit out of the people who are willing to pay that much. And then as you do the sales, you slowly expand and expand and expand the audience who can access your game. Right? Because if your launch price is too low, then you can't do a meaningful sale. Whereas like now, a 40% off sale, it's still 40% off $70.
Yeah.
That is like not money to shake a stick at.
Yeah.
The money that a publisher would get. So it's a pretty damn fascinating situation, and I would especially say for Sony, you must remember, they're doing $70, and other than payment processing fees for their own games, they're getting all of that. So that is like maximum efficiency.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm talking about digital here because that's where everybody, for the most part, can control their prices. I think, was it Tears of the Kingdom, Cornel, our team got for £45 instead of full price?
Yeah, because when they go back to when they were at physical copies of games, then you had the middleman of EB Games and GameStop. Like, buy, sell, trade, used games, all that jazz, Okay, I paid $60 for this game. I just got done beating it, and I just want to turn it in because I don't want to play it anymore. Okay, we can give you $5 for that. Oh, what? It just came out a couple days ago. I just beat it. I just wanted to beat it and just trade it back in. I paid $60. You're gonna give me $5 back? What? You can't give me $30 or something? No, I'm sorry, man. It's just a store policy. Sorry, but we can offer you $5. We can offer you $2. We can offer you $1. We can offer you 2 quarters.
Price. I think it was at a local shop. I forget which one. So you can actually find physical deals that are quite a bit better. But certainly when you go in digital, that's where, that's where they want you to go.
Yeah.
That's where they control everything, and that's where you can primarily see their intent. Look, I'm going to focus on value, and I think that focusing on value, not price, there's a small number of games that are worth 70.
Yeah.
It's not as much as the industry seems to think it is. Certainly isn't Redfall.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, what games have you bought for that price point and actually been happy with? That's what I'd like to know.
I have no idea the last time I bought a $70 game, period, let alone be happy with the $70 game. Oh my God. That is crazy. Games going up? I mean, but games have been $60 for many years now. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, yeah, it's oh, more money. I'm an adult now. I have a job. I can afford it, but the younger audience that tends to have less money and, they tend to get their money from their mom and dad or whatever. It's a lot harder, it seems. I don't know if this is good for the gaming industry as a whole. I don't know. We shall see, but I still like the video. still like Bellular, coming on with some good ass shit. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. All right, see ya.